Well. Look who's here. Dean Blundell, Zev Shalev.
Me, you,
It's the FiveStack.
us. It's just us,
Yeah, just us.
right? Sorry, guys. Just us. Welcome to the FiveStack with just us. Just a couple of middle-aged snacks hanging out, covering 5 breaking major news stories. And boy, oh boy, we got ourselves some humdingers today. Not only that, and I'm talking slow right now, just in case as we need more people to come in, so I'm talking slow. We also have a very special guest that will join us live from New York.
We do?
We do.
Who?
I'll text you.
Oh,
Forgot to tell you before to start the show.
I'm so excited about the very special guest.
Someone we know, someone we work with, is surreptitiously getting ready to appear right now.
Oh, I know who this is.
On major television news, not news, news. That's how they teach you in broadcast school. Don't say news, it's news. No, it isn't, it's news. And we'll have that for you at the end, but we can't give it away. Can't tell you who it is.
I know exactly who this is. I know.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, so you got to send him the link to Stage 10.
Okay, I will do that. I'll do that in the next 2 seconds.
3:30, he's going to come on. Okay. Maybe 3:45. Sorry, okay. I don't mean he. I mean this person who will rename nameless and sexless right now.
They all know in the chat, by the way. They're all kind of clued in. So it's still a surprise. It's still a surprise. A little bit of a surprise. Boy, we have a lot of news today. There really is a ton. I don't even know how you would describe it. It's a megaton. It's just an explosion of news.
A kiloton. That's how they measure nuclear nuclear
what
weapons,
ton?
Yeah. A kiloton or a megaton.
Kiloton. There you go.
Yeah.
And you know, it's nothing bigger than the president of the United States musing about the possibility of canceling elections completely.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't he muse about those things? And I'm going to try to show you this thing, although it isn't quite formatted for the look that we want. So let me just tell you about it instead while you try read it here. So there's the president's interview with the Reuters news agency, in which he says at the very end that he doesn't really feel that the elections are necessary anyway. This is the exact quote I'm trying to find it here. When you think of it, we shouldn't even have an election. It's some deep psychological thing, he says, but when you win the presidency, you don't win the midterms, especially if you're a terrible president, said Trump. I had accomplished so much that when you think of it, we shouldn't even have an election. Now, normally this would be, just the musings of a mad king, except in this particular case, he's also floated the idea of an insurrection just hours earlier, Insurrection Act, an hour earlier or so. Here's that little
around
statement.
Minnesota, right? Because they finally got it. They finally shot a Venezuelan. That's what they wanted. They finally shot a Venezuelan in Minnesota. So yeah, he's looking for martial law. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No problem. He said on Truth Social, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do the very best, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which is exactly what we've all been saying he may do. So you've got 2 instances there where the president of the United States is saying he'll institute the Insurrection Act, meaning martial law, meaning he can cancel elections. And then the second interview with Reuters is we shouldn't even have an election. Dean, here we are.
Hey, I hate to say we told you so for a fucking year.
Yeah.
We told you so.
We did.
I've had a busy day of meetings about this gentleman, hard pressed to call him a gentleman when he's a felon and a rapist and a sexual predator and a pedophile. However, because he's the president, we'll call him this gentleman. And, I read that quote today in his, long-ranging interview with Reuters. That's all he does, is sits down for these long-ranging interviews with different organizations because he's not interested in being the president of the United States. He's not interested in the business of the people. He never has been. He leaves the business of beating the people to Stephen Miller. He leaves the business of grifting the people to the Treasury and Scott Bessent. He leaves the business of jacking the people up to guys like J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, Katie Miller, that whole cabal. So he really isn't interested in doing anything other than trying to convince everybody that he's going to invade Greenland, he's going to cancel elections, he's going to send the military into Minnesota, And all of it, and I go back to our conversation yesterday with Ellie when we talked about how parents threaten their kids with outlandish threats, like I'm going to break your arm or that'll be the last thing you ever do, all that other
Mm.
bullshit. It's growing so old, and it's growing so violent because he's able to turn these machinations, specifically in his own country, into policy. He can't do it to Greenland, even though he's trying. You can't do it to Canada, even though he's trying. And sure, he invaded Venezuela, but fuck, I could invade Venezuela probably. So, the bottom line, and that was all for oil. The bottom line is that Donald Trump has always been intent and set on finding a way to manufacture visual violence, finding a way to not just manufacture that, but then take that and turn that into a policy where he can cancel the election and he can call martial law, which is part of the Insurrection Act, which he mentioned yesterday. And yesterday, what happened, another flashpoint where Minnesotans got angry, and not Somalis, Minnesotans, white Minnesotans, black, brown, Chinese Minnesotans. Here's why they got angry and became very agitated yesterday. Because ICE has a 4,000 person team in Minnesota going door to door, stopping people with no due process and literally no reason to do it other than the color of their skin. And it culminated yesterday in over 170 arrests. I'm going to say about 104 people were injured. One man was shot, and these ICE officers, as you can see, threw smoke grenades and flashbangs into a car that you see there that belonged to an African-American couple with 6 children in the car, all who had to be fucking hospitalized. In no way, shape, or form are Minnesotans getting violent. They're responding to violence. They're responding to the Gestapo for their community. No one has guns. No one is hitting police officers. They are standing there chanting, saying, "Our streets," as you can see, and the police continue to agitate. There are no agitators on the left. There are no agitators in Minnesota. And if there are, they deserve to agitate because Donald Trump has a lawless, nameless, maskless force of unauthorized, unlawful Gestapo personnel that answer only to him, looking to create the very reason that Donald Trump needs to hit the Insurrection Act for martial law and therefore to cancel said midterms. And I find it fucking hilarious that he's like, well, we're doing such a great job, there's really no reason. And, historically, every time the president wins, they lose the midterms, and I don't want that to happen. Not only is it unconstitutional, it's fucking pure insanity, and it's the entire fucking point of the midterms, you dumb fuck.
This is so accurate, what you just said. And as well, I want everyone just to pay attention to these images because this is, it looks like a war zone. It's designed to look like a war zone. It's actually designed for the cameras. A lot of what you're seeing is really manufactured drama in order to convince Americans that the Insurrection Act is necessary. But all the violence and all the, boom and all the flashbangs, they're created by the ICE agents who are there on the ground in order to create the effect of the craziness. Otherwise, this would be a fairly stable demonstration. This is not the kind of demonstration that you would normally have in a city like Minneapolis, where they are aware of what the president is trying to do. So this is stagecraft, but it's stagecraft with a desired intent. It's stagecraft with the intent of we're going to convince everyone that America is unsafe. And America is so unsafe that we have to call the Insurrection Act, impose martial law, and on top of that, they're going to try cancel the elections because they know they're losing so desperately. And if you're wondering why all of this is happening all at the same time and so aggressively, it's because the numbers are obviously showing them that. They can see that they are failing desperately, that the polling numbers are tanking, their policies are really unpopular, they're burying the biggest scandal ever in the Epstein files. There are many reasons why the Trump administration is trying to aggressively ramp up their drive towards authoritarianism. And that's because the numbers are tanking.
Yeah, not only the numbers are tanking, America's reputation is important to Americans. If you understand anything about America, their reputation is what gives them a pass around the world. their military reputation, their reputation as a democracy-loving country full of people who've been able to come to that country to be able to achieve success beyond their wildest dreams. There are no classes in America, or so they thought. And that is all wrong. That is all bad. That is all untrue. And so the reason why Donald Trump wants this to happen today, and the reason why he's talking about the insurrection and martial law today, and the reason why he's talking about election cancellations, it's because it's threefold. One, Americans and his approval rating, because of America's reputation, that it is done and dusted. Like, America's reputation is shit on the world stage. I'm part of a group of people that are heading to Europe to have this conversation with a bunch of other people in Europe in the next week or two. And the sadness is only, overcome by the anger of the countries that he has threatened, the allies he has threatened, and it's not just in Canada, it is global. Every world leader that has anything to do with older, better America, Canada, the allies, they fucking hate Donald Trump. They can't stand him. And they know he's committing crimes against humanity, against his own people. So there's that. That bothers the American people. So, you factor that into his approval rating. And then you talk about affordability. Fuck, I watched Chuck Schumer, the feckless Chuck Schumer, stand there and go, all this stuff, it's about making life more affordable, as people are getting shot and run over and children are being fucking hospitalized in Minnesota. So on top of that, you've got a feckless party of Democrats that are literally just trying to walk this thing through to the end until Better America shows up and they don't have to. So that's embarrassing for America. But on top of it, Americans are really fucking tired of two things. One, watching Donald Trump beat their own people with fucking impunity. And two, they're really, really, really angry at the price of gas, eggs, chicken, beef, etc. And why does that matter? It matters because Donald Trump is willing to pour billions of dollars into fighting wars overseas, billions of dollars into floating Argentina, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions into Venezuela, so that he can get his hands on some oil and enrich the Trump crime family and all of his friends. And here's the really unique part. We live in a time where the internet matters, social media matters, and Better America understands what Donald Trump is doing to them, not for them. So it doesn't really matter what he says. And on top of it, he can say stuff like, we shouldn't even have elections, cancel elections. Americans will go fucking there will be a civil war in the United States of America if Donald Trump decides that there shouldn't be a midterm election.
Well, that's what he wants.
There will be a civil fucking
He wants
war.
that. I mean, we have to really understand that the forces that are pushing all of this, let's call them the enemies of democracy. That's what I've been calling them for the last several years. They are quite interested in seeing a civil war play out. They're quite interested in seeing elections fail and the democratic experiment fail, because that's precisely the point of all of this. They're also very interested in what Donald Trump is very interested in, which is committing as much crime as the chaos that will envelop America, that they can do in that period of time, they can get away with. So we're going to see a large-scale criming that is still going on right now and will continue to be even greater until the American economy is completely destroyed. And it'll be hidden behind all the chaos, behind the conflict, behind ICE, behind the cancellation of elections, behind all this polarization. Behind all of that, there'll be a massive, massive crime taking place. And it'll be the American economy that is collapsed, the US dollar that is collapsed. And that'll be the ultimate goal of this administration and everyone who stands behind it. So, and that doesn't sound very cheerful at all, obviously, but this is what we're looking at. I mean, regardless of the fact whether, Donald Trump will ever leave office, maybe he will, maybe he won't. I don't know if he will.
Oh, you will.
I don't know when.
He will. Yeah, the institutions in America will survive this. I firmly believe that. I'll give you an analogy that might make sense when it comes to what Trump is doing. All of the distractions, not just from the Epstein files, but from his failed economic policies to the destruction of America's economy, literally being held up by an AI bubble of 11 different AI/tech companies. If that goes south, America's done. You've got a bunch of different countries that are thinking of selling off bonds today, and I had a conversation with someone here in Canada. It will happen. It's just a matter of when, and it really will be triggered by what Donald Trump does to his allies, or who were America's allies. So there's that. But my brother, years and years ago, because he runs an international aid organization, went to North Korea and to deliberate. And North Koreans are like, yeah, come on in. And they follow guys around. They try and get compromat or, da-da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, they took him and his team.
That's what they do.
Oh, yeah. They do. It's North Korea. Oh, yeah. Nice to see you. We're going to sniff through your underwear. And that actually did happen. So anyway, long story short, he tells me the story. He goes over there literally with goats to give to people. This is a long story. He's a nice guy. And tells me the story about this grocery store that they took him to, which was like perfect. It was this really small kind of, they take him on this scenic drive and a bunch of people, and there's take him to this grocery store. Grocery store looks incredible. Yeah. And they're telling him this is the best grocery store in the city. We got these all over the place. We're only going to take you into this area, which was beautiful and nice and all this other stuff. Goes to the grocery store. He looks around. They're like, they don't touch anything. He's like, yeah, no problem. So he slowly realizes this is a staged grocery store. This is a set. And he looks, picks up an apple. It's not real. And puts it back. And he's like, no one sees him do it. But everybody's watching.
It's not even a real apple?
And then he looks, no, it's not. And then he looks behind a curtain. And it's like a stage setting. Like it's got like lumber behind where the freezer was supposed to be, all that other kind of stuff. And he's like, it's all an act. It's all an act to try to tell the world how great the economy is. It's all an act to bring people like us here to tell everybody how wonderful the supreme leader is, and everybody here gets fed. And then a couple days later, he's chatting with some people who said the government told them that there might come a time that year where they have to eat their own waste if they wanted to survive. And I'm like, well, what is different from Trump's America? And I know the analogy is a little extreme.
Yeah.
But that's what Donald Trump's foreign policy is. That's what Donald Trump's success is. It is a fucking staged North Korean grocery store.
Yeah.
There is nothing to this regime. Nothing.
Didn't he put out that video where he's actually dumping shit all over American protesters during a while ago? I mean, this is what they're turning America into. And you don't have to look very far for examples of that, because, in Venezuela, this is what happened when they put Chavez in. They did exactly the same thing. They went from a thriving, amazing democracy, a real beacon in Latin America, and they turned it into a cesspit. I mean, there's nothing there anymore. They completely ravaged the economy, stole all the money, stole all the oil, and the gold. By the way, it's now all crypto based. Where did you have that idea? And so this is Venezuela today, and the same man, Donald Trump, is trying to do exactly the same in the United States.
And you know what? You're going to get to a point, folks, it's going to be in the next either 2 months or the next 3.5 years, where you're going to see stories about how barren America's cupboards are. Mm-hmm. Financial cupboards, social cupboards, social program cupboards. You are going to see, they are going to unwrap at some point the destruction of Donald Trump. And I go back to this analogy quite a bit because my grandfather landed in Normandy and was one of the people that helped free people in concentration camps all across Europe, specifically Dachau. And when Allies found out how bad it was, they collapsed. They couldn't believe the damage that man had done inside his own country, not to mention the damage he had done across Europe. And I think that is a day of reckoning, many days of reckoning, maybe years of reckoning once we get past and post the Trump era. And I do believe we will. But we do not, like ICE, we don't know how bad the torture is in those facilities. They're not allowed to go. We're not allowed to monitor. Not just the ICE facilities, but these ICE Gestapo. We don't get proper stats and reports. We just get the narrative that they build with every video that goes out, and they say, well, they made us fucking do that. Well, you also don't know how criminal this Trump regime is when it comes to theft of the treasury for their own purposes. They have all the fucking cards, and canceling the election means one of two things. A, They really don't want you to know how bad it is. And B, they know they're going to fucking lose, so they really don't want you to know how fucking bad it
Yeah,
is.
and the reason they have almost the entire FBI out there checking for immigrants is because they're not focusing on the other crime that they're committing. So there is a lot of crime that is not going investigated right now because this immigration crackdown is taking so many FBI personnel off their desks and off their typical duties in order to do this crackdown, which we've seen in Minneapolis. Just horrific stuff. We should mention, Dean, if we can, just quickly. We are all about this great news site called, not new actually, it's been around for a while, called Ground News. You and I have often spoken about how great the site is because it doesn't only show you stories you might have missed in the day's flow of news because everyone's in their echo chamber, but it also shows you the biases between what's being reported on the right, what's being reported on the left, and also the why that's happening, which I think is really interesting. There's a story coming up soon about China and Carney that I found today on Ground News, and it's one of those stories that I would not have seen it on my radar had I not checked out Ground News. So we and Ground News are teaming up in a partnership to offer FiveStack viewers 40% off if they sign up right now at groundnews.com/FiveStack. That's Ground News. I should change this. groundnews.com/FiveStack. If you sign up right now, you'll get 40% off. And in a partnership with them and us in order to improve the kind of news everyone is getting every day.
Yeah. Listen, let me just kind of redo that URL if you can. It's ground.news/FiveStack. Ground.news/FiveStack. Now, I need
Actually,
my friends.
groundnews.com/FiveStack. Maybe it's
either
both.
or.
Maybe
Either
it's
or.
both. Yeah.
FiveStack is your promo code. Go to Ground News, pump in the promo code FiveStack. 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 You get 40% off Ground News. Now, little known fact, and I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag. I've been a Ground News subscriber for about a year. And a lot of the information that you see about Canada in the United States, where it has to concern with the United States, a lot of that comes from Ground News. Why? And not the stories, but the information. Why? Because in Canada, we have the same problem that you have in the United States, is that you're not getting real information, real news that truly matters to the context of the conversation. You're not getting an understanding of the biases and the blind spots. And that's one of the cool things that Ground News does. They've got a blind spot feature. So you can go and literally read stories that you normally would have missed because of your bias. And you can, okay, that makes sense to me. You can also see, what ideology, which I think is really important, is reading, supporting, or forwarding certain stories so you can understand what's real and what isn't. They're sort of like a mental and emotional news Sherpa. So I would highly encourage everybody, if you're watching right now, ground.news/FiveStack or groundnews.com/FiveStack. Either way, FiveStack is your promo code. 40% off is a big deal. And you get that news uploaded, curated, delivered to you every time you open up the Ground News browser. It is truly a remarkable service. And I got to say this, proudly Canadian, totally global. Proudly Canadian, totally global. You want to support a good Canadian company that wants to help our friends in the United States and everybody keep their mind and affirm their values, affirm their views with proper information. Groundnews.com or ground.news. Your promo code is FiveStack, and it is time for story number 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Number 3, actually.
Number 3. All right.
The Trump administration has announced indefinite suspension of immigrant visa processing for 75 countries. It takes effect January 21. The stated reason, they're preventing people who might become a public charge. In other words, people who might need public assistance or are just too poor to be American. The countries, Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Bangladesh, Brazil, Cambodia, Colombia, Cuba, Egypt, Ethiopia, Haiti, Iran, Iraq, Nigeria, Pakistan, Russia, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, and 56 more countries. It also covers Latin America, Caribbean, Balkans, South Asia, Africa, and Middle East regions, but not all those regions, of course. It's interesting Russia is amongst the mix. I can't argue with that ban, but this doesn't affect tourist visas, by the way. It just affects those people who are moving to the U.S. permanently, like work visas or reunification or refugee visas. These are countries, of course, which have a lot of refugees coming from them. But it's, the Trump administration is claiming that all these immigrants are not only here, they're stealing the welfare dependence of America and from Americans. And so they say they're bringing an end to that abuse of the immigration system.
Yeah, sure you are, you crazy bastard.
Not
sure
racist,
you are.
by the way. It's not
No,
racist.
no, it's not. He's only got every country that isn't white other than Russia. But whatever. I mean, he pinned the people from Moldova. You're no longer allowed to go there. Albania, fuck you. Bosnia Herzegovina, forget it. Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Nepal. You know those dangerous Nepalese.
Well,
right?
I mean,
They show up and they never.
They're poor, and they steal the money from the Americans. They just steal all that welfare. That's what they come here for, and then they ship it off in bucketfuls and in suitcases on various planes. And
when they're not impregnating your wife.
Yeah, of course. And
let's be serious.
And other species, by the way.
Yeah, of course, because they're all from insane asylums. That's what these countries do, according to Trump. They empty out their insane asylums, give them one-way tickets to New York, and they say, fuck you.
Yeah. And that Biden guy, he just let them all in.
I know. He gave money and he told them to vote and Medicare and stuff. None of that happened, by the way. Listen, this is fucking stupid. And it's performative like everything else he does. And here's how I know it. Because some of the countries he's canceled visas from are countries like Brazil.
Well, Brazilians.
Dangerous Brazilians. Colombia, he's fighting with them. He's fighting with Lula in Brazil. I don't know what he said about Nicaragua, but, they're not going to Nicaragua. What else? What do we got? Guatemala, Cuba, Haiti, you can't go. But interesting, if you're from Venezuela, you get a free ride. He did.
Oh, now Venezuelans are allowed to come. I thought we've turned because they're Americans now, and he's the Venezuelan president. I got it.
Exactly.
Right.
Folks, this is just another stupid fucking red herring. It all is. Like him saying, I'm no longer allowing Muslims into the country. Well, good fucking luck, dude. Good luck trying to stop that. And canceling visas is a lot like tariffs, right? Where he says something like the other day, and this was one of my favorite bluster, bluff, bullshit moments from Donald Trump. I'm capping credit card interest rates at 10%. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I'm like, well, you can't do that. Much like he can't stop issuing immigrant visas to 75 different countries. That is not in his purview. There is no EO that he can do that won't get taken up and challenged by the ACLU, by Congress, and probably the Senate as well. This is just more bullshit, friends.
The other thing that people need to realize about immigration, there are less people in America now than there were last year because less people are coming to America, less people are being allowed into America. So we now have a declining immigration rate in the United States, which is
negative migration for the first time ever.
Terrific for the economy. I mean, you can't think of a worse thing to do to an economy than stop it from growing. And when you eliminate immigration, you send the entire economy into decline. So if you think this isn't affecting you, it's just affecting other people who might not be allowed into the country, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your communities. It's going to affect the services you get, the prices you pay for everything. It's all tied in to immigration. So, for what it's worth, it's good to keep that in mind. The number 2 story on the countdown today. This is the story I actually found on Ground News earlier on because I was like, hey, wait a second. I didn't realize.
Ground.news.
Ground.news.
Ground.news /FiveStack. Groundnews.com. FiveStack. FiveStack promo code 40% off. Go get it right now.
You're so good at this. You should be a broadcaster or something.
I took a spin in that industry for a solid 15. I'm sorry. Kind of handled it.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney landed in Beijing today. The first visit by a Canadian leader to China in 8 years. That's after 8 years of really not very good relations. Canada's 2018 arrest of a Huawei executive, Meng Wanzhou, and 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs, Chinese retaliatory tariffs on Canadian canola, pork, seafood, you name it. It's not been a good look between China and Canada. But now, thanks to Donald Trump, China and Canada are becoming really good friends again. Both sides welcomed the renewal of bilateral engagement. And they're having strong meetings, which, helps Canada because they've got and lots of resources that they need to sell to the rest of the world now that Donald Trump doesn't want them anymore. Plus, they've got, they need things too from the rest of the world, and China makes things and sells things. I mean, I'll leave this to you. You're so good at this stuff.
You're not going to like my take.
I'm probably going to disagree with you. Yeah.
You probably will.
Yeah.
At the current moment we're currently in, question for you. What is the more dangerous or unpredictable regime? The Chinese Communist Party or the Trump regime right now?
Well, it's a trick question for me.
Nope, it's not. In your mind,
question.
Just your opinion. I just want your opinion.
Who is currently more destabilizing the world more? It's the Trump regime.
Okay. Who do you trust to follow through on a trade deal more at the moment? China or America?
Also
just your
question.
opinion. I don't. Yep. Pretend this is a Senate oversight hearing. I'm claiming my time.
Okay. I mean, unpredictably and untrustworthy right now. Yeah, Donald Trump and the Trump regime for sure.
Okay. Now, which of those two countries is currently engaged in the human rights violations by beating and killing their own people for dissenting against the regime? Which of those two countries?
I'd say both. That's a sort of tie for me there.
Okay, so that's a tie so far. China 2, and as far as who we should be doing business with, and the United States 0. Right, the tie's a wash. All right.
Based on that criteria, you're saying, yeah, but I don't base it just on that criteria. But yeah, let's.
I do.
I'll
do. Wait. So, okay, who's willing to pay a quarter more for our Brent crude oil and natural gas than the United States right now? Do you know the answer to that?
I'm assuming it's going to be China. I'm assuming that's the answer. Yeah.
As Trump says, China.
Yeah.
China. Now, I don't trust the Chinese as far as I can throw the Chinese.
Yeah.
I can't throw the Chinese. There's a lot of Chinese people. However, I, along with the Canadian people and this prime minister in our economy, trust the Chinese economy and the Chinese people at the moment far more than we trust the Trump regime and the United States of America. Because they need our shit. We need to sell them our shit. We need their shit. They need to sell us our shit. We want to do business with them. And our old partner that used to want that business has stated time and time and time again, they need none of this from Canada.
He did say that. Donald Trump did say that.
Well, we got to go look for new partners. So that's what Mark Carney is doing. Now, I want to point a couple things out about this meeting. Carney is engaged in high-level meetings for a reset of trade relations with China. China is excited to, quote, pivot the relationship they've had and repair it with the Canadian people. And they want to integrate, which I don't want, neither does Mark Carney, parts of our economy to help their economy. Canada needs that help because the United States does not want our economy to help them when it comes to raw materials, energy, softwood, lumber, et cetera, water, rare earth materials. The shit that Donald Trump is desperately trying to get that he says he doesn't need from every other country that he's currently invading, and Canada has fucking all of it. We don't have a choice other than to diversify and go and do business with bad people, because at the moment, those bad people aren't as bad as those terrible people. I hope that makes some sense.
It makes sense. Everything you're saying is true. But so is this. If you pull back the lens a little bit more and you think about it, who is motivated by Donald Trump's presidency? Which nations helped facilitate Donald Trump's presidency? Russia, of course, on the one hand, and China on the other hand. Now, China never views itself or exposes itself as the big supporter of Donald Trump, but they really are a big supporter of Donald Trump. We've seen it in many ways. The whole thing about the way the Chinese do war, if you believe the art of war, some people don't, but I think it's an interesting guidebook.
Sun Tzu, Art of War, yeah.
Yeah, what he talks about there is you never let your enemy know you're at war with them. So they're never going to let America know that they're at war with them. But they are still at war with them. And they've installed a president in the White House with Russia that is busy destroying America from the inside for them. And how cool is it that they get to rebuild a relationship with Canada, which is a very strong, important, Western Hemisphere country, which happens to have all these resources that they really need, including a ton of farmland and all these other things, based on the fact that they've alienated the Americans from the Canadians. They've created that acrimony. And so, of course, Canada looks around and where does it go? It goes to China. But it's China who actually created the acrimony in the first place by putting Trump in the White House. It doesn't change what you're saying. It doesn't change the initial analysis that, Canada has no choice. But Canada doesn't, like to be a part of countries that abuse their citizens like China does. Canada does not like to be a part of a military dictatorship with a ton of free speech restrictions and complete control over people's lives, including this, credit score system that they have there and all these other Neanderthal-like.
Oh yeah, the social credit stuff.
Yeah, it's not a good place, China. And unfortunately, all that China was planning to do by putting Donald Trump along with Russia into the White House is working. The US dollar is collapsing before our very eyes. The decline this year alone on the US dollar's use around the world has declined so much. And it's all Donald Trump's doing with tariffs, with these trade wars. And it's music to the ears of the Chinese, who are busy building up an alternative through BRICS, who are busy building new partnerships around the world by presenting themselves as the stable empire, but they're not really a stable empire. They're a dictatorial regime that is oppressing their people. And we can't forget that. What we need to do is stand behind the American people in their fight against Donald Trump, because that fight against Donald Trump is a fight against dictatorial regimes and dictatorships. And it's a fight for democracy, and that's the side of Canadians should be on. So I don't take any joy from the fact that Carney is in China right now, shaking hands with the premier there, making it seem like it's okay that we're suddenly going to build all these great partnerships, when just a few years ago they captured a couple of Canadian citizens and killed them, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the Michaels, they didn't kill him. They just held him for a solid year in solitary confinement and then sent them back after we released the Huawei executive, which we did at the behest of the Trump regime, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, this is not how things are meant to be done in enlightened democratic nations. And this isn't an enlightened democratic nation that we're dealing with in China. It's a criminal regime. It will remain a criminal regime. And they're certainly not trusted world over for a good reason. So that's my take. That's what I think about this. Although I think it's very challenging, because what does Canada do? And at the end of the day, if we land up at war with America, and Canada's fighting the United States, let's say, and who's going to come in as the great savior of this battle against the United States? It's going to be China, looking like the free liberators of the world. That may happen.
Well, before we get to a war with Canada and China versus the United States of America, I think we need to take some baby steps. Listen, I don't think if you asked a Canadian, hey, how do you feel about doing a bunch of business with China and the Chinese Communist Party, we'd be like, it sucks. Mm-hmm. But you want to do business with them or the Trump Reich, mm-hmm. right? Which you're going to have to do business with fucking somebody. Yeah. And our economy, because of the threats that Trump has continued to launch, whether it's annexation, the destruction of our automotive industry, he talked about it when he was in Detroit, as TJ Sebulda, that dude that now got $500,000 in his GoFundMe, called him a pedophile protector. He's like, we don't need Canada. Canada sucks. Fuck Canada, effectively. And listen, Canada just sits here and takes bullets. Like we just sit here and go, yeah, whatever. We don't give a fuck. We're still boycotting. Like cross-border travel's down like 55% in the first half of this month. 55% Terrible. So we're doubling down on the doubling down of not having to do with anything to do with the United States of America, which is a violent, dictatorial, fascist, authoritarian regime. Okay. That's what it is. You can say the same thing about China. That's what it is. The one is socialist, the other one is fascist, pretending to be democratic, and it ain't. It just ain't. And so, if you have a political problem with that, I totally understand it. But the business of the country, the natural resources of this country, what we do to support our people, what we do to keep the economy moving forward, now that Donald Trump has canceled our relationship with them, and literally specifically attacked sectoral industries in Canada: automotive, steel, softwood, energy, et cetera, potash. We have to find other fucking partners. And if you don't think that the agriculture industry in Canada isn't keenly interested on doing business with China, save all of the political bullshit and putting all of that aside, you're crazy, because they are. Same thing with the automotive industry. Part of the conversation that they're going to have with China is about bringing EVs into Canada, cheaply made Chinese EVs that are like between $10,000 and $15,000. Right now, we've tariffed the import of any of those cars. And listen, they make fucking great EVs. They make incredibly intuitive, smart vehicles. We've seen them. Everybody said the campaign that China has put into Canada, getting people to go, you need to lobby and get people to buy these cars and get Canada to release the automotive tariffs on Chinese EVs. That is a direct result of them hammering our canola industry, agriculture industry, with tariffs and surcharges. Same thing with other industries like the pork industry. Man, we sold so much pork to China, it was fucking insane. Now we don't sell any, barely any, and our pork farmers are having a hard time. Well, guess what we have a lot of that they want, more than pork, more than canola: gas, natural gas, energy, rare earth materials.
Yeah.
And we have to sell it to somebody. We have to.
We do, but Canada is a natural friend of America. We've been friends with them for a long time. It's our ideological ally in terms of the Constitution.
Where is America?
America is captured right now. We have to understand that America is not America. The American people are, under great duress. They're about to have an Insurrection Act put upon them. They're about to, have.
So we hurt Canadians in their pocketbooks.
I'm not saying anyone should be
hurting
so that
Canadians. We
we
remain patriotic to America.
I think we just have to remember.
It's turned its back on us.
I think we have to remember that it's not, Donald Trump is not America. Donald Trump is the president of America right now. And we need to find ways of helping the American people overcome this great challenge that they've got more than anything else. That to me is the number one priority. Do we help America by making friends with China, by turning our entire economic might towards China? Do we help them by bringing EVs that are Chinese made into America? And do we help ourselves at the end of the day? Because just a few months ago, there was a really good, thriving American car business that existed across the borders of Canada, Mexico, and the United States that brought many jobs to both Canada and Mexico. And we don't have those. So I understand this is a predicament. This is a terrible thing that we're in. But when you really pull back and you really ask yourselves, who's in charge of this current move of this Trump administration, of this Trump regime still being in power, it's hard to avoid that Russia and China are working in concert to do that. And this is just placating them or doing exactly what they want us to do. Maybe there's no option, but that's where we are.
Yep. Hey, listen, I don't disagree. But at some point, Mark Carney and the government of Canada have to triage their opportunities to keep our economy afloat, to keep our economy alive, so that we can blunt whatever economic damage Donald Trump wants to do to Canada so that he can justify us as a vassal state. That's what I'm saying. And all bets are off when it comes to Canada's national security, when it comes to our economy as well.
I agree with you. It's a tough position to be in. I've been waiting for this story all hour long because you've got breaking news about Greenland. Oh, and we've got Lev. Oh, our secret guest. Our not so secret guest. Let's talk about Greenland quickly. 6 European NATO members deployed troops to Greenland today. Germany, Sweden, France, Norway, Netherlands, Finland. Not an exercise, a defense line against the United States. Yesterday's White House meeting ended exactly as expected. A fundamental disagreement with Denmark. And here we are. We're looking at war between the United States and Europe over Greenland. Or are we? Dean Blundell?
Yeah. Okay, two schools of thought and a bit of an announcement. We'll do the announcement first. I am going to Denmark and Greenland next week.
That
I'm
is
going
fantastic.
with, yeah, I'm bringing some friends, and I've got more announcements to make when it comes to the cabal of Canadians, UK citizens, Americans, Danish, some other citizens that have big platforms that are going over to conduct some interviews and put feet on ground,
Are we going to be?
names to
You're going to be live
faces.
from Greenland on the FiveStack
Yeah,
next week? Oh my
I
gosh!
believe so. I
On
believe so. Towards the
location,
end of the week.
so
Yeah,
a very
Denmark and
warm
Greenland.
parka.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. So, as part of that conversation and those conversations that are leading up to the purpose and intention of the trip, and really fortunate to be going with people like Malcolm Nance, who is a legend in military espionage, counterterror circles, diplomatic circles, and he knows the area, he knows the place. Spent about a month in Greenland. Very good friends with the people of Copenhagen and the people of Denmark. And as a matter of fact, Denmark actually sent about 250 soldiers there at the behest of Malcolm Nance a while ago. And Jacob Karsbo, who's Danish intelligence, our friend, we've had him on the show dozens of times. And so, why are we going? Can't tell you, but we're going to bring back, some information, and we've got a job to do on behalf of Canada, the United States, and our allies to reinforce the fact that NATO is here for Denmark. All of us, we're all in. It doesn't matter. The reason why we're going isn't Donald Trump's constant threats, drumbeats of war to attack Greenland and to just literally take it from Denmark and start an international incident with 31 other NATO countries. The reason why we're going is because this is a momentous occasion when you have Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Canada, France, the UK, and several other coalition of the willing countries that are not just thinking about sending troops, ships, artillery, defensive equipment, boats, drones to Greenland. They're not just thinking about it, they're on their fucking way.
Yeah,
They're on their way. Now, the involvement of every person that is going to be going to Greenland to cover this represents every country that is flooding help into Greenland on behalf of Denmark and on behalf of 31 NATO countries who have a NATO obligation to protect Greenland against any and all foreign and domestic threats. That's going on right now. England is sending groups. France is also sending groups. Germany, a couple of warships, and Denmark is sending an undetermined group of very special, and as is England, all Nordic trained, same with Canada, for the climate, for the region that understand it. And this wasn't just yesterday after the meeting. This has been going on for a week. A week. They are not just prepared, they are planning to go to war. The other side of that equation is Donald Trump's America and Donald Trump's military. Two schools of thought there. A, they are conducting exercises in the U.S. military, Air Force, conducting exercises in Alaska right now, in Murkowski's home state.
Yeah.
They're conducting those exercises. They've got a regimen. I believe it's the Rangers that, I was talking to Malcolm about it yesterday. He said this on the live, so I really don't have a problem talking about it. Malcolm Nance said there's a regiment of about 100 Rangers that are specially trained to take airports. They're currently either on leave but not actively training to take over airports. So there doesn't seem to be the same preparation on the United States side. So the school of thought is war is imminent, but the other school of thought is, if you talk to other military experts, is that he's bluffing. And if he's bluffing, that might be worse. And I'll tell you why. Because he spent the last month and a half doing what he did with, I'm going to end the Ukraine-Russia war in a day. Well, a month later, he's like, I was only kidding. That's going to be his out, according to White House insiders. I was only joking. We floated the idea, no big deal. Well, you've got hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment, thousands of people from NATO countries dug in Greenland, waiting for that guy to execute on a joke or rhetoric. My God. The damage that will do is secondary only to the damage an invasion of Greenland would do, which is rugging these NATO defenses to be able to get them to take up a defensive posture in the thousands with warships, drones, guns, fighter jets. Like, it's fucking on. It's fucking on. And if this is a bluff, if there is no movement or training or any kind of plan to execute on the American side, Malcolm seems to think there is. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. What a fucking unserious prick. And look what he did just to big dick all the other members of NATO and show everybody how fucking cool he is.
Well, they obviously are hoping that there wouldn't be a reaction from Europe. I mean, they're expecting, or were expecting, that they could just talk their way into Greenland, that they would have to do some big show and dance and land troops there and show how they're conquering Greenland. But they were not expecting Europe to really go to war over Greenland. And what Europe is doing and what Canada is doing is responding in the way that they are not hoping. They were hoping this wasn't going to happen. You know, what we're not seeing is appeasement. We're not seeing Neville Chamberlain. We're seeing we're going to go to war. Even over Greenland, we're going to go to war because that's our sovereign territory. Because we see what Donald Trump is. We know what he's doing. We understand the playbook. We've been talking about it here for a year. We talk about it elsewhere for 10 years. It's obvious that Donald Trump is playing out the same thing that the Reich did in Germany. And no one wants to give in this time because we remember history. And it's amazing that these countries are bonding together and actually putting their money and their troops where their mouths are and defending Greenland, whose people really deserve this defense because they're not just objects. They are people who deserve to determine their own self-determination and their nationhood. So this is exactly what Europe and Canada and the rest of the NATO countries should be doing. And if it ends NATO, which it might, well, that's a real problem. But it also
won't.
might be
It won't. NATO,
NATO
will go on. They'll kick the United States out. They'll bring Ukraine in, and we could use Ukraine. And I mean it. Listen,
war hardened.
Yeah, really one of the fucking sick parts of this, and I think a good place to sort of pull the pin today, is the insult to the Danish people. And what insult, Dean? You're probably going, which one? Which insult to the Danish people? It's the constant reference to the sled dog teams.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where yesterday Trump again was like, whatever, we'll just take it. You know, anything less than giving us Greenland is unacceptable. I hear they've got 2 sled dog teams in there. This is a week after. He's like, yeah, Denmark flooded Greenland with defense units. I hear they got an extra sled dog team. The Danish military has bought tens of billions of dollars worth of United States military equipment from the United States military industrial complex. They have one of the biggest air forces in Europe. They have one of the most impressive Nordic SEAL teams in the world. They will mow down Americans, and they don't have a fucking problem doing it anymore because of the constant fucking threats and, more importantly, the insults. The Danish military does not fuck around. They are a very, very serious group of trained professionals. Commanders, captains, majors, the whole bit. They are not fucking around. And I happen to have that on good authority because we speak to people in Denmark. And we also have it on very good authority that not a single soldier that is currently being sent to Greenland has a single problem from any distance taking out anybody that lands on their island, on their sovereign territory, no matter who the fuck they are. So Donald Trump's insult and playing it down to the American people that they've got nothing, not only is it a fucking terrible representation of what and how serious the Danish military is, but Denmark has been a major military financial partner of the United States for fucking decades.
225 years of diplomatic relations between these countries that Donald Trump is completely destroying it. And Denmark was the first to establish diplomatic relations with the United States. You know, the thing that is remarkable about what you're saying is I would not want to land in Greenland if I was not trained for Arctic warfare at this time of the year. If I was a military person, it would seem like the most horrific place to try and find a battle.
Guess how many ice cutters they have?
Oh, I don't know, 17.
0.
Oh,
United States has 0.
America's got 0, yeah.
Canada's got 6, fully armed. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, dozens,
Yeah.
fully armed. They're coming.
It's just not a place that they might, and also the Greenland people know their country quite well. I'm sure, in addition to the fact that it's an Arctic, really cold zone, it's also probably got certain kind of pitfalls that only the locals know about, that maybe the American military doesn't know about. And just like landing there with all their bravado is not going to necessarily mean that they're going to be able to take the whole thing, or that they won't be stuck in a quagmire there, or that they won't be met by a lot of resistance.
57,000 people live in Greenland.
Oh, you got cut off for some reason. I can't hear you now. Is it me or you? Oh, I can't hear you. Can't hear you. There's a thing that happens. There's a thing that happens every time you take a call or something. Anyway, maybe he'll join us. Maybe he won't, because that sort of is the FiveStack today. I'll give him a second here to join us again. We want to thank you for being here today on this very special FiveStack, as we're learning about Dean going to Greenland. And we were expecting a special guest today. I didn't even know what happened. We missed our special guest as well. Although I did send him a link.
Did he not pick up?
He did not. I sent the link. So who knows? Maybe I was too late. I might have been late in sending it. I don't know what time he has to do other stuff. But it would be nice to hear from him.
I'll text him. Right now. Hit that link. I want to finish my thought about the Greenland people.
Yeah, please do. While you do that, I'll remind everyone that Dean Blundell is at deanblundell.substack.com. And you can find my stuff at narrative.org, NARATIV.org. There it is for you on the screen. Check us both out. And if you can, become a paid subscriber. There's no ways all this content gets produced without your very, very important subscriptions. And we thank you very much for doing all of that.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Thank you. Please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. 25% off yearly subscriptions right now. Full access for the whole year, and lock in that price forever. You never pay more. Anyway, 35,000 guns in Greenland, according to Malcolm Nance. Those 35,000 guns are long guns, powerful rifles to kill big, giant muskox, seal, caribou.
Invading
all belong
Americans.
To the locals. Americans, maybe, all belong to the locals. Everyone has one, and every single person with a gun, save maybe the bricklayer guy who's a MAGA dude that goes to Daddy's Bar and Nuke. It's what it's called. That's where all the maggots hang out. It's like 6 of them. They just go in there and get drunk and go upstairs and do stuff with each other. Apparently.
Like a gay
I know.
Bar.
It might be. Yeah, well, it's MAGA, so you never know, right? Everybody's a closet person in MAGA. They're all... Anyway, but every single one of those people that has a long rifle will take a position. So you got 35,000 soldiers with long rifles that live in the harshest conditions in the world that are more than willing to welcome the American troops rudely. Just so you know.
Yeah. It's another interesting fact, of course. Denmark is what? It's a kingdom that's been around for more than 1,000 years, probably dates back to the 8th century, the origins of Denmark. The king currently has been reigning over there, their royal family, for 1,200, 1,300 years. The United States, just 250 years old. One has survived the other a little longer. And, it's worth noting that they're not about to give up a fight to America that easily, or to Donald Trump, who's turning America into a basket case right now. That is the FiveStack. Are we going to wait for Lev or?
No, I just sent him a text. Yeah. He's not answering, but he's real busy. So we'll let the cat out of the bag. I want you to watch Abby Phillips tonight on CNN, 10 o'clock. Our guy Lev is going to be there, and he's wearing his Enough is Enough gear and a blazer, by the way. He's going to look like $1 million. Talked to him earlier today. We might go live from the green room, just so you know, prior to the actual show. And he has every intention of having a very serious conversation with Scott Jennings this evening.
Ooh, I can't wait for that. The 10 o'clock, is that 10 o'clock on CNN?
10 o'clock, yeah.
I might carry it live here just because. Why not? It'll be good to see.
Let's do it. Let's carry it live.
Okay, we could do that tonight.
On both channels. Let's do it. Yeah. I'm in.
And that is the FiveStack today. It is January the 15th, 2026. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.